Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. And, President Trump has quite, and his team, they have quite a challenge ahead of them. They have the CIA has been taking down a lot of people over the years. Of course, JFK, RFK, Martin Luther King. So many that they have taken down over the years. And of course, all the way up to current time frame. They've tried to take out President Trump, assassinate him. We all know this. Part of dropping 9/11, part of that, or dropping those buildings in their footprint. So they're involved in a lot of the stuff. And President Trump has to take down many different systems. Not just the CIA and the FBI, but also the IRS and the Federal Reserve. So both of those organizations may be argued are more powerful than the CIA and have more control. It remains to be seen, but all of those combined are pretty formidable. And of course, then you have incredible technologies that they have, direct energy weapons, of course, being one of those. And then also HARP. And there's some kind of super HARP system down in Antarctica that they use to basically control the weather, earthquakes, just incredible technologies that can really damage humanity and have been damaging humanity and are damaging humanity as we speak. So there's massive, storms that are happening this weekend in the middle of the United States again. There's incredible snowstorms that are happening on the West Coast in Colorado. There are incredible snowstorms that are happening in Iran. Of course, CIA wants to control Iran. Have been wanting to do that for a long time. And more of this is being exposed. The CIA, part of the deep state, Kazarian mafia, on and on and on. So as you see here, President Trump fighting the deep state bull. So it is incredible. The things that we as humanity are up against, we will win in the long term, but we have to expose this stuff so that we know who the enemy is and how to fight them. All right. So happy Good Friday. And let's jump into some of this. All right. So the head of the IRS is ousted amid Treasury power struggle with Elon Musk. So Elon Musk and Scott Bessent and President Trump, they're all trying to work together, and alpha males sometimes cross each other's paths, and you didn't go through me, so I'm going to get rid of the IRS goes. I guess Mr. Bessent's deputy, Michael Falklinder, will be the new acting leader, replacing Gary Shapley, the Treasury Department confirmed on Friday. The Treasury Department. So you see how we're moving back to the Treasury Department. It's going to be taking down the IRS, which is a business that is located and was created for the Federal Reserve, that's located in Puerto Rico. It is not in the United States. All right. So, but it is an arm of the Federal Reserve to get money from the American people illegally. Right. So this destruction of the system is going to take time. It's being squeezed by President Trump and other groups. I think that as we move forward, we're going to see this thing really, really get taken out. So I guess there was a clash between the head of the IRS. There's been like 3 or 4 different IRS heads over the last week or so. It's really crazy, how quickly they're taking these guys down, and that's part of destroying the IRS. Who wants to be in charge next, and then that's the kind of way we were in the Middle East when we would take out the head of one terrorist group. Somebody would step up, and then we take them out, and it's like, who wants to be who's brave enough to be ahead of this group now? So it's kind of like that. Of course, they're not being executed or killed or whatever, by drone strikes, but they are, taking away their power. So Mr. Shapley, a longtime IRS agent, gained fame among conservatives after he publicly argued that the Justice Department had slow-walked its investigation into Hunter Biden's taxes. So Mr. Musk liked that a lot and wanted to appoint him, or didn't appoint him. Mr. Bissent said, hey, I wasn't in the loop on that, so he's out. I want to put my guy in. So these guys, there's going to be a little bit of that, but I'm not concerned about it, because basically what they're doing is they're destroying the IRS. And it's going to continue. It's going to continue, and it's going to continue, and it's going to continue till it's gone. Breitbart Business Digest. Can Trump actually remove Jerome Powell as Fed chair? So he's not part of the federal government, and there is no reserves. So can Donald Trump remove him? No, he's part of and this is what he's trying to expose. He wants Jerome Powell to reduce interest rates because Americans are paying too much for, loans and so forth. And Jerome Powell is like, he can't fire me. He said that before. And he can't. I don't think he can. Now, in this article, they're saying that Congress possibly could, but I don't think Congress could either, because it's not part of the federal government. It's an independent private banking institution. So this is part of the exposure, I believe, that's going on. So when, President Trump can't take him down, you got the European central banks are dropping their rates over and over and over again, but ours stay high. It's part of the destruction of America. It's part of the destruction of America to keep, these interest rates as high as they are. And President Trump, I believe, is exposing that. So what does the Constitution say? And we're going to get a little bit deeper into this. Is the Fed exercising executive authority when it makes monetary policy? Kind of. Yeah, it is. So what gave it that right? Well, they were voted in. In the middle of the night on a Christmas holiday, after they sank the Titanic with all the people on board that would have, pushed back on it. The multimillionaires of the time, which would be multi-billionaires today, that had businesses in America that were very successful. And then there's another group of businessmen, like the J.P. Morgans of the time, the Rockefellers of the time, that wanted things to go a certain way so that they can manipulate the American people and steal from them. The other businessmen knew what they were up to, and they wanted to stop them out. So they were put on the Titanic. Let's all get together and have a little meeting, because they were like in Europe at the time. So let's go back to America. We'll have a business meeting about all this, and they all perished on the Titanic when they sank it. Right? Did it hit an iceberg? Sure, it hit an iceberg, but they deliberately, I think, blew up and destroyed it. And then locked a lot of those, murdered a lot of those people in their room and locked the doors, and then evacuated just women and children, so that these gentlemen, if there was any still left, couldn't make it onto those lifeboats, which they made sure they didn't have enough of to handle all the people on the ship. So this is, and of course, it was unthinkable. It really was unthinkable, I believe, to a certain extent. But when you blow holes in it, like I believe they were doing, and you don't close the watertight doors, which I don't think they did, you're going to sink a ship, and that's what they did. All right. So Now, what is Trump really up to? So in this article, they say, in all honesty, it's hard to say. So because they're not part of, the white hats. This is, the press. And they're not part of, they're part of the CIA, Mockingbird Media. So all they can do is speculate. They're not going to find out. He's not going to tell them, yeah, we're like going to take the Federal Reserve down. I'm going to expose it and take it down. It's a legal institution, never should have been in America, and it's going to go away. All right. So perhaps he's laying tracks to blame Powell if any prolonged economic struggles are ahead. Like he's the problem, like Trump's the problem with the economy. They basically driven the Titanic again, our economy, into an iceberg field at full speed ahead, and now they're going to blame Trump for it. All right, any problems that happen, that's typical. So will we get lower interest rates? If we don't, I think the Federal Reserve goes away. So they're in between a rock and a hard spot, right? So, and Trump is like, which way are you going to go? You're going to like lower the rates and make me happy and make the American people happy? Or are you going to expose yourself for what you are? An illegal institution that should have been done away with a long time ago. So how long ago have presidents been trying to do away with the Federal Reserve? Well, John F. Kennedy, that's quite a while back in the 60s. So the executive order 11110, it's almost like an angelic number, 1111, is angel wings. So this is the executive order that basically gave silver certificates. They were going to do away with them. So November 28, 1961, President Kennedy halted sales of silver by the Treasury Department, increasing demand for silver of an industrial metal that had led to an increase in the market price of silver above the United States government's fixed price. So industrial use of silver was accelerating, and they were suppressing the price. Sound familiar? And so President Kennedy at the time was trying to let it run. And so he's trying to break the Federal Reserve's control over silver. So this was in March 19. When did he pass this executive order? It was September 17th. Nope. That's what was the date? April 10th. So this is important. House of Representatives took up the president's request early in 1963 and passed it on April 10th, 1963, by a vote of 251 to 120. So, and the same thing, the Senate. Senate was like 68 to 10. So they blew it out of the water. And Kennedy signed it into law on June 4th. Remember that day, June 4th, 1963. When was Kennedy assassinated? November 22, 1963. Right? So I think there were a lot of reasons why they want to kill Kennedy. This is definitely one of them, because he was basically coming out the Federal Reserve. So like I'm saying, President Trump he's messing with something very powerful, right? We all know that. So JFK assassination theory, Jim Mars, who was basically blew up the deep state every chance he got, wrote lots of books, died mysteriously, of course. And his book, Crossfire, presented the theory that Kennedy was trying to rein in the power of the Federal Reserve, and that forces opposed to such action might have played some part in Kennedy's assassination. So this was another reason why they basically conspired. Another reason. They felt that he was a threat to Americans. So the deep state, they have their own laws. They have their own assassination teams. They have their own military. They have their own, you name it, and they basically run outside of what the real U.S. government is. We're starting to understand that and realize that. So this is one of the things that we have to understand, that they exercise their power outside of the U.S. government, outside of the governments of Europe, outside the governments, you name it, pretty much. Brazil, you name it, pretty much all of them, everywhere, around the world. Very powerful. And there are, groups that are conspired to take them down. President Trump being one of those, of course. And probably one of the most powerful leaders within the White Hat group, right? That's taking down the deep state. So Mars alleges that the issuance of Executive Order 1111-0 was an effort by Kennedy to transfer power from the Federal Reserve to the United States Department of Treasury. So you see how they're all working, trying to get the Treasury, the Senate, Musk and Donald Trump, they're working to, take out the IRS and the Federal Reserve. They're working to destroy it. All right. So it goes on to talk about, the way they were doing it, replacing Federal Reserve notes with silver certificates. Silver certificates. Author Richard Belzer named the responsible parties in this theory as American billionaires, power brokers, and bankers. The deep state power brokers, right? The Bezos, just all those guys on that side, I guess. I'm trying to think of Microsoft head, whatever. So all the billionaires on that side that have done incredible banksters, all the banks, all of them pretty much. Probably gonna be like a massive bank failures coming up, guys, because this is part of the taking out of all of that system. Bill Gates, thank you, James. So Bill Gates, we can see who the power brokers are for the deep state, right? Who is pushing this? Who are the ones that are running the money of these people? Who's the power brokers for moving the money around and over to Ukraine, washing it and sending it back, right? So this author Richard Belzer named the responsible parties and American billionaires. Okay, so and working in tandem with the CIA. So it's not the CIA in and of itself that's just doing all this on its own. There's not like powerful people within the CIA. The CIA is puppeted by other power brokers and other sympathetic agents of the government, FBI, and on and on and on, guys. Critics of the theory note that Executive Order 1111-0 was a technicality that only delegated existing presidential powers to the Secretary of the Treasury for administrative convenience during a period of transition. So we're going to see the Federal Reserve go away, and it's going to go back to the Treasury Department, which it always should have been. It was for a long time until they stole it, right? And they manipulate the markets. They manipulate the interest rates, and this causes crashes. And they jack the stock market up, and they know when it's going to go up. They know when they're going to jack it up. It's getting jacked up right now after going into a crash mode. And they're selling. There's the big wigs are basically selling. So everybody's getting excited. The stock market, it was buy the dip. So the stock market's going to go up. Probably, I'll talk about that a little bit more, further into this if I have the time. I might have to talk about it tomorrow, but because I have a lot to talk about today. And then unfortunately, I have another show that I got to do at 6. So this could have been a 2-hour show, so it might have to be pushed into tomorrow's show. But anyway, there was some serious problems with the JFK assassination that could have been seen if JFK had more good people like Donald Trump has now watching his six. Probably would have been a lot better off. So remember that JFK wanted to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces. So why didn't he? What happened? Well, they killed him before he could do that. So piecing together newly unredacted files and personal accounts, we know now, so all the files are being released, people are starting to put this stuff together. It's starting to come together for a lot of people. There was a powerful shift against the agency's rogue autonomy. So they were working outside of, the executive, judicial, legislative, three forms of government. They're completely outside of that, doing whatever they want, controlling all three branches. If one branch got out of control, they just start killing, kill JFK, right? So sometimes the CIA mission chief has been in the country longer. They talk about the ambassadors, State Department, so forth. So JFK wanted to take the CIA and turn it over to the State Department. Well, the CIA now owns the State Department, right? So, I mean, maybe at one time the State Department was very powerful and that could have been done, but the CIA completely controls the State Department. You overseas embassies and consulates overseas, they're all bought and paid for by the CIA, and there's lots of CIA folk. Not a lot, but there's a few CIA folk that run out of those places, right? And they have pretty much control of the State Department people that are in those embassies and consulates. They answer to the CIA. So Kennedy held CIA Director Allen Dulles and his deputy for covert operations, Richard Bissell, personally responsible for deceiving him on the prospects for success of the ill-planned paramilitary assault on Cuba, Bay of Pigs, April 1961. He was only a couple of weeks in office, a few weeks in office, and this Bay of Pigs thing they convinced him was going to be a really good thing, and it turned out to be a huge cluster. But that was the plan. It was always planned that way. And now a lot of people say that Kennedy screwed him over because he didn't let jets be used or whatever. Maybe at one point, we had Russia and a standoff, almost nuclear war. Now, the military, the deep state military, bubbas were trying to provoke a nuclear conflict, just like when the recent administration before Trump was in office, they were poking that bear quite a bit, weren't they? All right. So Kennedy was like, no, we're not going to do that. They didn't like that. All right. They didn't like that at all because they like their wars. They make money on their wars. So that's another thing you can look at, who stands to make money off of any wars that are coming up. So again, November 22nd, 1963, JFK was shot. He was shot by multiple shooters in an assassination plot that was planned by the CIA, and RFK Jr., Robert RFK's son, has said that his uncle was killed by the CIA. They've actually released documents saying that, we may have been involved, right? So I don't know. Are they just like, yeah, what about it? Evidently, because nothing's happened, right? So if we look at, what transpired after Kennedy was killed, and why did the CIA want Castro in Cuba? Now, I just did a show recently. If you haven't seen that, I highly recommend it, with James Files. It's here in YouTube and also in my Rumble channel, Michael J 5326, where you can see I had James Files on again, who's the shooter behind the fence, who has incredible amounts of information that he could share with America if he was given immunity. But he's still sharing anyway, so we're getting some information out of him. Hopefully it lasts a bit longer. He's kind of like a little bit on the, we don't know how much longer he's going to last, but anyway, I hooked him up with some LifeWave patches, and he was sent home to die by the doctors, and fortunately he's surviving, right? And that's what the patches do. They help a lot of people that are having issues. So he's hanging in there, looking a little bit better, but you could tell even on the show, we went a long time. He had said maybe 45 minutes. We went 2 hours, right? So I've seen some people that I think they know it all come in and said, you should have let him talk more. He couldn't talk more. We had to come in and talk so he could get rest, right? So that's why we were, doing more talking than I prefer when I have guests. They do all the talking. I ask questions, let them run, and when they slow down or stop, then I ask another question or add some information, and then we go further. The best guests are the ones, just keep on going. Like Juan O'Savin, he just keeps on going. Right? I love the guy. So, and he's always revealing great stuff. So what happened after Kennedy was assassinated? We went into Vietnam. Why did the CIA want Cuba? Because they're going to run drugs through Cuba. They ran heroin through Cuba, and that's what James Files disclosed. That's why they wanted it. That's why they wanted someone that was like a communist-looking guy. So Che Guevara looked like he was going to have an impact on Cuba. So James Files, CIA-backed assassin team of former military guys that were highly trained by the CIA, and George Sr., Bush Sr., was a recruiter. So he would go recruit these guys, and they'd get trained up, and then he was there during the JFK assassination. He and his little boy were there. I think it was 18 at the time, something like that. So getting them trained up, right? Getting to see how the real side of things work, because we had this who would eventually be the head of the CIA, Bush Sr., and they named the street in front of the CIA, George H.W. Bush Street, Avenue, whatever. And I used to drive down. And I was like, I gotta go down this road to the CIA headquarters. So now we know that there was a golden triangle in Vietnam for heroin that was going to go through Cuba, and they're already working it out. So Cuba was the supply chain area for heroin. So they went into Vietnam. The French Foreign Legion and all those guys were there fighting in Vietnam. They're getting their butts kicked, and America came in to help out. And then France left, and America was like, ha, 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 we get all the drugs now. And so they started, shipping those drugs to American soldiers. No disrespect to American soldiers. I was one, of course. We're using the drugs, right? There's many stories of American soldiers using drugs there, right? Heroin, all kind of opium, and so forth. So, and this goes way back. It goes all the way back to Victoria, Queen of England, and I'll get a little bit deeper in that in a minute. So, what is the CIA? Is basically a continuation of the British spy agency MI6 that's obviously been in operation for thousands of years, right? And not thousands, but well over 1,000. And it basically got turned into the CIA, MI6, CIA, Mossad, pretty much all the same thing. So we started taking drugs, from the Golden Triangle, from Vietnam, and they started coming up through Cuba. So what happened when Vietnam went away? Well, eventually they started having a pipeline of drugs that came up from South America, the cocoa leaves and so forth in Colombia. And they were coming up and dropping them off through Mina Airport, where another president, Clinton, working with the CIA again, another future president, they get rewarded, don't they, for working with the CIA and doing what they tell. And if you don't work with the CIA, they kill you, like they did JFK, right? Or if you don't work with them, they try to kill you, like they've tried to do Trump. So they did that for a while, and then they were like, well, running heroin through Cuba was really profitable. So, and I guess the drug trades that were coming through, Vietnam and so forth, were kind of getting, taken out. They don't do as much drugs through there anymore. So they needed someplace new. So they went in Afghanistan, right? They went in Afghanistan, and they started shipping the opium from Afghanistan in through Cuba again, still, right? So Cuba's communist. No one can go down there. The people have been screwed over in Cuba. The people that tried to take Cuba back got screwed over. The CIA is making a mint and using that money to basically, control the governments of the world. That's how the deep state controls the world, guys, through these illicit drug trafficking rings, human trafficking rings. CIA is part of all this stuff. CIA is part of all this stuff. Yes, I used to work for CIA. I know this. All right, so I was one of the good guys. So you're like, once CIA, always CIA. That's probably a CIA guy that's doing that. So trying to disenfranchise me, right, from American people, like I'm trying to inform. So heroin became a major component in the opium trade after World War II. And the demand for heroin by the United States troops during the Vietnam War helped transform the opium economy of the Golden Triangle into a large and profitable heroin economy. Drug trafficking now influences every aspect of politics. All over the world, guys. All over the world. All right, so all the way back to the British Empire, the British East India Company, private British merchants were heavily involved in the shipment of opium to China. China. Wow. How about that? Particularly from the 19th century onwards, this practice was a key factor in the Opium Wars, which stemmed from China's attempts to regulate and eventually prohibit the drug's importation. And the British Empire said, oh, no. We're going to keep shipping that, and you're going to keep taking it, and you're going to pay us in silver. In silver. The British East India Company, originally established to trade in spices, got a little bit more spicy with the opium, right? Shifted to opium cultivation in Bengal, India, and then allowed private British merchants to exploit the Chinese market. So they pretty much owned India, the British Empire. And, then you had Gandhi come in and said, get the F out. They were like, no, we're just going to kill you guys until you stop. And eventually the world turned against Britain, and Britain pulled out, right? Pulled out of there. But they, with the Chinese, remember they had Hong Kong. So the Chinese were trying to restrict them from, bringing opium into their ports. So what they do? They took over Hong Kong and said, it's ours for 100 years. And it was like, a couple decades ago, they're like the lease ran out. So they had to give it back. So China's got Hong Kong again. So these wars have been going on for a long time. So Victoria, Queen Victoria uh, was 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 into opium. She liked opium gum, and then she had many people in her administration, I guess, that were into it. Queen Victoria's coterie ordered opium from the royal apothecary. She is also believed to have taken cocaine gum with a young Winston Churchill. Prime Minister William Gladstone is said to have taken opium in tea or coffee before making important speeches. Now, before you say this, good thing we didn't have it here in America. Well, they got us hooked on it too here in America, guys, and I'll talk about that too. So, yeah, like we won the war, but did we? The Revolutionary War? So they made it fashionable to do opium and cocaine. So that was another one. So who was the most fashionable cocaine user? Sherlock Holmes in the books by Arthur Conan Doyle. So opium was like a downer. People would smoke it and go to sleep and have dreams and whatever. If they had issues with wounds or fighting Britain's wars or whatever, their peg legs or whatever, they could do opium, and then the pain wasn't as bad. So they had opium dens throughout Britain. They had, of course, opium dens that started to pop up in America, all the way out to Chicago, where Chicago was like the distribution, and it's still a distribution hub for heroin and cocaine and all these drugs, guys. And who's head of Chicago and Illinois? Democrats, right? And wherever you see massive, drug use is going to be in a Democrat area. So, look at Baltimore, Maryland, who just recently went down to, there was a senator from Maryland that went down and tried to get that one MS-13 terrorist back to America. That's a Democrat from Maryland. Heroin capital of the world is Baltimore of America. You drive in Baltimore, you see zombies everywhere. It's just very sad. I remember I used to go there and see all the port and the great, what was that one? Old Glory basically was in the war with Britain. What was it? What was that name? I think it was Old Glory, but something like that. But it got pounded by Britain and it stayed afloat. So it's still there. They keep it up in the harbor. It's a great place, but it's heroin capital of the world, or not the world, but of America. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's the world. What is a heroin capital of the world? Probably, because America has a lot of buying opportunity, like Trump says, and we're the greatest consumer in the world. So maybe it is. So think about that. USS Constellation. Thank you, Marcy. So think of all the people that have been involved in this opium, this heroin, and all this stuff over the years, and the CIA is part of that same group that basically makes sure that it continues, that they benefit from that, and then they use that money to basically control. And that's the way you think Glasgow, Ireland is, Archie. So, and I don't know, maybe you're right. So we are under attack to this day. Yes, yeah, Constellation. Still under attack. That's why they left it there. Portland. I think Portland is Portland. Which Portland? What coast? So there's Portland on both coasts. So probably Portland, Oregon would be my guess. You're talking about because it's another Democrat stronghold. So a lot of zombies in Portland, and it used to be America's most beautiful city. I remember I was a hard hat diver. We would go there. We'd drive our ship up the Columbia River and park it there in Portland. Back when, what was it? The beer, where they made beer, beer, and it was like the first place to start doing that. It's the first place I knew about. Not refineries, but what's a home when you brew beer? God, it's like so simple shit, and I sometimes can't. Rose Parade, yeah, Rose Parade and Rose Festival in Portland, yeah, Portland and Eugene. Smart enough not to fluoridate the water, so they use it in the beer. Beer making process. Come on, so it's like simple shit. It sucks. But anyway, so opium dens all around the world, and thank you, Queen Victoria and the British Empire, for doing that. We really, you suck, brewery. Thank you, James. So, yeah, crazy, right? The second of the Sherlock Holmes novels, The Sign of Four, published in 1890, begins with the great detective unpacking a hypodermic syringe from its neat leather case, rolling up his sleeve and preparing to give himself an injection. It is cocaine, he says to the curious Dr. Watson, a 7% solution. Would you care to try it? Right. That's in the Sherlock Holmes. So maybe that's how he was so smart, right? He was always like spaced out, and he can just go into his creative side and get all this information. So, a brief history of opioids in the U.S. Very, very interesting. It came out opiate-laced syrups for teething babies. One of the most incredible ones that I read about, because they talk about Civil War years afterwards. All the amputations, broken bones, lingering illnesses, tuberculosis, dysentery, fueled the country's appetite for morphine, and then they figured out how to somehow find another substance out of morphine, and that was heroin. So in 1898, the Bayer Company introduced this new remedy for cough and pain, heroin. All right. Wow. Good job, Bayer. Some believe, and what is that aspirin laced with? Better be careful. Some believed it would prove less addictive than the morphine it was derived from, but reports of heroin addiction soon proved otherwise. All right. Oops. I wonder if they got sued for that. So this stuff has been going on for quite some time. Of course, Coca-Cola used to have cocaine in it. Crazy, right? So President Trump trying to break down the system. He was, had assassination attempts. So he just recently today, released the RFK assassination files today on Good Friday. It's a good day because we're releasing all this information. Ooh, deep state, getting weak. All right. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard said the release, which began Friday, comes after an effort done in conjunction with the National Archives and other agency officials to scan and upload more than 10,000 pages, which will be available for the American people to view online to fulfill President Trump's maximum transparency promise. So nearly 60 years after the tragic assassination of Senator Robert F. Kennedy, American people will, for the first time, have the opportunity to review the federal government's investigation, thanks to the leadership of President Trump, Gabbard said in a statement. Now, within there, they're going to talk about the CIA being involved, right? Because that's what RFK Jr. has said. Of course, he said, CIA killed my uncle, and he's also said the CIA killed my father. And he's still alive. Remember how the Biden administration didn't want to give him, protective detail? Wonder why. So we have some very interesting things that are happening. with disclosure. So we have a Representative Kurt Weldon says it's finally time to tell the truth about 9/11. How about that? So he was on Tucker Carlson, and Tucker was wild, but I'm not wild. I've been talking about this for a long time. So let's see what he says here.
What was the pretext for raiding her daughter's house? No, it's not. They never talked to her. So what was she charged with?
So Representative Kurt Weldon was already going to win re-election. They were going to put him on the, I think it was the Armed Services Committee. So he'd already been active, finding out that 9/11, they knew 9/11 was coming. They knew it was coming. They knew it. And they did nothing. In fact, they covered it up. In fact, they came after him and destroyed his career. He was going to win. He was ahead in the polls, and they raided his daughter's house. FBI, another 3-letter agency, be careful my words here, that was also involved in JFK and RFK assassinations and Martin Luther King assassinations. They basically came in and ruined his chance for winning. Probably doctored up the polls and also the the voting. They've been doing this for a long time, so it's very interesting to see how this is basically turned around. And it's time for this stuff to come out. A lot of people won't talk about this. I was with the three amigos. Basically, we were talking about this recently, where we'll go on to we know of hosts of very, very high level shows that won't talk about this and are like completely dumb to it, like retarded dumb, don't even know anything about it. Like, really?
They never charged her. They never charged her with anything. They never talked to her. There was no charge. So the FBI just shows up. Shows up, raids, takes boxes out, and then gives her the boxes back unopened, still tape. Nothing. Nothing. When did they give the boxes back? That was months later. After you'd lost. Yeah, and not only that, 3 months after the election, the annual fire dinner in Washington, which I started, 2,000 people attend, members of Congress, House and Senate. George Bush, the father, former
George Bush, CIA Bush.
Director, does a tribute to me, which I sent it to your staffer. You can play it. And he says in the tribute, Congressman Laden, you're the kind of leader that America needs. You're the kind of leader that leaves the country safer, stronger. Those aren't my words.
And that's why we got to take you out. Right? Oh my God. You can't make this stuff up. It's incredible.
Those are George Bush Sr.'s words to 2,000 people after they raided my daughter's house. After you'd already been neutralized. That's right. You were not going to be. It was all about getting me out. So the raid comes, you must be completely confused. You call your daughter and say, like, what's going on? She was totally devastated. Ruined her life. How do you deal with it? I don't know. How do you deal with your kid? I'm probably going to find out. If you want to come after me, and that's what I say to them. They're scumbags. Oh, I know. If you scumbag, if you want to come after me publicly. But if you're going to hide and go do something behind something, which you do, now there are good people in the agency, but there are scumbags that work in our agencies, and I know them, and they're making money. They're $1 million people, and their $1 million companies are going to be exposed. It was the last thing I do. And you'll see the ties around the world to the $1 million intel people who made money off the backs of young American kids who are bad in wars while they make money, while their companies make money.
And that's the way it is. That's the way it is, right? And once you've been in this game for a while, thinking you're doing the right thing, then you figure it out. And it's not so pretty. It's not so pretty, guys. All right? So that's Kurt Weldon. Prayer for him that he continues to exist so he can be part of exposing that. Now, bin Laden. Now, I was part of finding the team that helped find bin Laden. I predicted that there was going to be some kind of an attack in August, early August. I was at the Naval Academy as a senior enlisted guy, and I told the 3-star that was in charge there at the Academy, 3-star Admiral, that we needed to beef up security there at the Academy because I felt that there was going to be a massive terrorist attack on America. He was like dumbfounded. And it's funny because there was a female that was in charge of security officer, and she came up to me later. You know, females have intuition, right? They know intuition. Us guys have to work at it, but we can do it too. So she came up to me later and she's like, "Oh, thank you. I've been trying to tell them, and they'll probably do it now." So they did. They actually beefed up security, and then there was like a list of places that were supposed to be hit on 9/11, and the U.S. Naval Academy was one of those on the list. Now, I think the good guys basically stopped out a bigger attack, guys. I've talked to guys around the country that were involved in wrapping up terrorists. They got the word, they moved, and they shut down a lot of stuff there was going to be a lot more happen on that day, guys. A lot more attacks. And the good guys basically snuffed a lot of that out. So May 2nd, 2011, is when we finally got him. So think about it. 2001, 10 years later, Osama bin Laden is basically taken down. And there's a whole story on that. I'm not going to go into all that because I don't have the time. But I've talked about some of this stuff in the past. Now, on 6 August, just a couple months later, there was a helicopter crash that killed supposedly killed 31 heroes. It was called Extortion 17, the helo they were on. So SEAL Team 6 guys. It was a different SEAL Team 6 group. It was Gold Team that died in the helo crash, and it was Red Squadron that did the hit. So I believe it was pretty much a balancing. The good guys basically somehow worked it in. They couldn't resist. They tried, of course, with Osama bin Laden. But we're working downrange. I was working with some really good people, and we're tracking this down. We're making it happen. And I think they couldn't resist because there was too many people that were coming forward, and they tried, but it didn't work out. They're like, "Well, we're going to have to let them kill them," right? And for a payback, they tried. I believe they tried. I believe there was no one on the helo. I believe they remote controlled it, and it got taken out, and they had dead bodies. They had bodies on it, but they weren't. It was not their bodies, right? So that is probably what happened with that, because I've heard from a lot of people that that's a very strong possibility. So we have, imagine if you knew the Black Hats, Obama group, and so forth had planned to kill you, and you were given the option to survive and then be part of a group that basically would start to take down the deep state. I'd be all over that. How about you guys? I think so, right? So I think that's what happened. This is my thoughts. I have no proof, but I have a little bit of proof here and there, but nothing I can show you. And that's the way it's going to be. It has to be that way until at some point the deep state is probably done. And who knows when that's going to be. So Harvard stood up to Trump. Now it wants its donors to help. Michael Bloomberg. So obviously one of those multi-billionaires that we talk about, that's part of the deep state. He ran for president. Of course, he didn't make it. No, everybody's like, not even no, but F no. So, and David Rubenstein. So, we're seeing who the people are. They're exposing themselves, and I think that's a really good thing. So, U.S. will pause Ukraine peace efforts if no progress, Rubio warns. So, Kyiv and Moscow I will say, is basically Kyiv. They're going to have to get Zelensky out of there. I don't know how they're going to get Zelensky out of there. And it's going to be obviously very challenging. Russia is basically taking down the Ukrainian military, destroying it, and the NATO arms that are going in there. The United States is not going to contribute to it anymore. Any more money, any more arms. I think at some point we're going to see the end of NATO, and that's going to be a very good thing. All right. So what is going on with the economy? That silver thing. Silver. I hope you're in silver. All right. If you're not, then you're going to want to be. Now, will silver go down more? I don't think so for a little bit. I think the stock market is going to go back up a little bit. So this is the Dow Jones right here. Now, when there's gaps, you see this gap right here, gaps get filled. And when it started gapping down, I'm like, at some point that's going to go up. So I'm like, I'm on the sidelines. All right. So you see this massive push up, one of the biggest push-ups ever. You see how if you look to the right, you see how it came up to that point, and several days later, it didn't make it past that point, and so it collapsed. We may see a little bit more of a collapse and then a power higher to fill that gap, or maybe it'll stop there and fill the gap. Once it comes up to that gap, I think that's when we're going to see a pullback. I think it's probably going to hit that. We're going to see further downside. I don't know. We'll see. Now, crypto, if this market goes up, because that's a pretty good stretch for it to go up. If it does stretch higher, then we'll probably see crypto go up. Bitcoin has to go above 88,800. If it doesn't, it's not going to go. It's going to crash, right? So right now it's kind of looking like it's building a bull flag to go higher, but it could be like this. That kind of looks like it was building a bull flag and then it crashed, and then it crashed. So you never know. If the stock market goes up, Bitcoin will go up. If stock market goes down, Bitcoin will go down. Now, if you look at silver and gold, of course, everybody's like Gaga over gold. And that's no reference to Lady Gaga or Mr. Gaga, whatever that is. But we're probably going to see, or Mr. Mrs. I don't know, maybe both. So we're probably going to see silver, see how it pumped. It did. This is called a bull hammer when you get long stretches on the candle, wicks on the candle like this. And as you saw, it was very bullish. It took off. So it's recovered a big chunk of its multi-year high, which is at 35.50, just below 35.50, right? 35.47, 35.49, something like that. It's just below 35.50, right? So I think that if the stock market goes up, then silver will go up and it will set new highs. It will go beyond 50. If the stock market crashes, then everything gets sold. So even something that has, you'll see Bitcoin crater, you'll see stocks crater, and you'll see some selling like we saw last time of silver and gold, because I think gold crashed like 8%. You'll see that because even the good stuff, people are going to sell to try and make ends meet. All right. So that's what's going on with the stock market. You need to be in silver. Get with Kirk Elliott, my guy. He's the best, and you'll love it. All right, guys. I do have to do more presentation. I'll bring that in tomorrow. Probably do a little bit longer show tomorrow. So definitely come in tomorrow. I see you guys are liking this. Got a got a fairly nice group. You guys are seeing I'm surviving here on YouTube. That's a good thing. I think it's going to continue because for the first time in my entire YouTube career, they have let me do ads. They never let me do ads before. So I'm in the ad business on YouTube now. So that's a good thing. So that means they are probably going to let me stay. All right. As long as I don't get too crazy. All right. So I got to go. I'll talk to you guys later. Love you. Stay in love vibration.